I can change whatever.
All right, I'll go live and I'm waiting for the YouTube stream to set up. Sorry.
Keep Raisha, keep admin for
Uh-huh.
admin, and then the one that's on your phone, change it to you.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, it should be me. Yeah. The one on my phone is as an attendee is my name.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Go on mute.
Okay. All right. Going live. Thanks for joining, everybody. We'll go ahead and get started. I just wanted to welcome everybody to Homecoming Week, and that's the purpose of this event, to welcome everybody to Homecoming Week this year, 2021. This is the event where we set the tone for what to expect and what to think about as you're exploring the Esri User Conference, but also as you're exploring all of the events that we have lined up for the homecoming this year. So for those who may not be familiar, North Star, which is one of the organizations that's leading this effort to bring the homecoming to you. We're a community organization that is focused on advancing equity and belonging for people of the Black or African diaspora in GIS, geography, the geosciences, and beyond. We tend to do that by focusing in 3 areas. We'd like to find opportunities to increase networking and collaboration for people across the diaspora, and we want to raise awareness of opportunities that exist within GIS in terms of academic pursuits, career, entrepreneurial interests, but also opportunities to impact communities. And one of the most significant ways that we think about encouraging people to impact communities is using GIS to advance equity and social justice. And just before I talk a bit more about what the homecoming is, why we do this, I just want to thank our sponsors at Critigen, Here Technologies, and Unity and Power at Here Technologies, North Star, of course, Spatial GIS, also one of the sort of the organizing engines behind all of these events, and African Women in GIS. All of us came together over the past few months, as we did the year before, to try to design an experience for folks to, as I said before, to increase opportunities to connect, largely around the idea of fostering community and equity for people of the African diaspora within GIS. And we sort of wrap a conference around the Esri User Conference, recognizing that usually once a year, well, every year, the User Conference presents an opportunity for people across the African diaspora, wherever you are in the world, to come together virtually or in person around our shared interest in GIS. And it has always created opportunities for Black folks and people in the African diaspora to connect offline, outside of the conference. And so we wanted to make sure that there are always experiences that we're sort of organizing collectively where we can make those connections. So this year, our main theme is creating and innovating through and beyond the pandemic. And we're excited to share our own takes as individuals about what that means to us. But we also want you to know that this is a part of a series of events. Yesterday, there was a happy hour. It was a lot of fun. Thanks everybody for showing up. There'll be some more later on. I'll show you in the schedule. And today you're at the Welcome to the Homecoming keynote event. the schedule is pretty intense. So we've broken this up. Monday and Tuesday, there's the African Women in GIS Research Symposium. They're bringing together women from across the region to share their insights for an hour. And you can catch them at 7 a.m. in Pacific time, 10 a.m. Eastern, or 3 p.m. GMT +1. And then there's the Careers in GIS panel discussion, where the focus is the idea that GIS can look like you too. And in fact, it does. So there are Black folks at every leg of the journey in a career or an entrepreneurial mission in GIS. And we just want to highlight a few folks, and we try to take time to do that from time to time. And so in that conversation, you're going to hear from people who are at different stages in their pursuits in the field of GIS. And I'm excited to have them share their journeys and give some insight to folks who are thinking about reflecting on their own career and what their next steps could be, and also inviting more people to join up. And then there's also the education spotlight later on in that evening, where the C3 initiative, which is an organization that's dedicated to increase the access to the STEM field for kids from underrepresented communities, primarily children of color, most importantly, Black children. And they put together great training experiences that meet children where they are, get them excited about GIS around the things that they're already excited about, and they get to experience real world scenarios in a fictitious sort of setting, and it's a lot of fun. And then there's a African Nations focused happy hour that'll happen 3 a.m., 6 a.m., 11 a.m., depending on where you are. And it's another opportunity to connect. And there's another happy hour for folks who are in the sort of with the time zones of the Americas in mind. So 4 p.m. PDT and 7 p.m. Eastern. And for Wednesday and Thursday, another opportunity for folks in the African nations to connect. And we'll also have a brief discussion with some folks who've done a lot of presenting in the past, who are getting into more and more opportunities to present. And they're just going to share some tips for getting ready and for actually executing when you're preparing on big stages. And then we'll have another really exciting conversation putting HBCUs and the students at HBCUs into focus. There's an exciting project that Dr. David Padgett has been working on in Africatown, and we're excited to have you learn more about that. And then the final event, the ultimate event, the homecoming special interest group meeting, which is brought to you by North Star and Blacks in GIS, which is actually on the Esri user conference platform. So to join that event, you've got to take advantage of the complimentary registration that many people have access to. If you're a student in school in I think it's this year, and or graduating this year, you get student access. If your organization has a maintenance or a subscription to ArcGIS that's active, anybody in that organization gets access, and that's going to be many organizations, especially state, local, and federal government. And if all else fails, even if you have a personal use license, I should say, you can also get complimentary access along with your personal use license to the Esri user conference. So definitely join up and listen to a great conversation. So today, like I said, the agenda is we're having a conversation, right? And we want to just be in conversation with our colleagues and folks from across the diaspora. And so opening up that conversation, we're going to reflect on our own personal views about what this theme means this year. And we want to inspire everybody to get ready for the Esri User Conference and for the rest of the homecoming week. Then one of the speakers, who will be introducing themselves in a moment, will share a technology demonstration showing the use of GIS to preserve and share history. And then we're going to talk about the future of GIS. We're going to just talk about what we think is exciting to look out for as you think about the future of GIS. And we want to share our own thoughts and reflections for newcomers to the field of GIS and for that next generation of GIS professionals as well. And then we'll make time for a brief moderated discussion. So I'll transition into that first section now, this opening discussion. And I just want to invite some of the folks here to come off mute and introduce yourselves. There are people here from different parts of the diaspora, different industries, different primary industries, from different kinds of organizations at different stages in their aspirations in GIS. And so I just want to take some time and let them share with you their role, what they do right now, and what they're excited about in GIS right now. The first person I see is TJ. So TJ, why don't you go first and then pick the person who goes next.
All right. Good morning, afternoon, evening to all. All of you look so beautiful and happy, and I feel the energy. My name is Tyann Crump Talley. I go by TJ because it's a lot to say. I am from Here Technologies, and I've been with Here Technologies for about 8 years, collaborating with GIS, North Star, and Esri for about, I would say, maybe 3 years now. We can include the pandemic. So it's been so excited to be here and ready to take this discussion somewhere extreme and delightful. I'll pass it on to the next person I see, which is actually Veronique. Hello, darling.
Hi, thanks for passing it on to me. My name is Veronique Coutier, and as TJ mentioned, I also go by V or Vero. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm really excited to be here. By training, I'm not a GIS person, if anyone really is a GIS person at some point, whatever that even means. I was a biologist by training, and I've been doing GIS for full-time, as a full-time position. I have my own consulting company and equity consulting. So sorry about that.
And I'm muted, sorry. So we're having some technical difficulties, I think, on V's end. And while we work through those issues, maybe Dr. Wright, maybe you can give an introduction for yourself.
Absolutely delighted. Warm greetings and big hugs to everyone. My name is Dr. Dawn Wright. I am Esri's chief scientist. My pronouns are she, her, and I use the Spanish ella. And I've been with Esri for, this will be my 10th anniversary at Esri. And this year is my 30th anniversary in the GIS industry. So the homecoming is an absolutely perfect way for me to celebrate those milestones. And so I very much appreciate being here with all of you and being involved in this very, very important conversation at this very, very important time for us, our people in the GIS industry, for the GIS industry in general, and certainly for the planet. So I can pass on to someone else, Clinton. How about Jeremy? He's the one I see on my screen.
Hello, am I coming through clearly? All
Yes.
right. It's good to meet you all. My name is Jeremy Davis. As you can see, I work for the city of Chattanooga out here in Tennessee, working as a GIS technician, and I am part of the team that's starting their UAV program. So the stuff that I've got to present is just a little bit of the stuff that we've been working on so far. I've been in the GIS industry for, I'd say, about 3 or 4 years on and off, working with archaeology and history. And it's all come back to something like this. It's just so glad to see that there's a lot of faces that look like mine who are still working in the GIS industry, because it's not something you see too often where I'm from. And it's just so refreshing to, be able to present some of this stuff to people who might be interested in it.
Thanks, Jeremy. I've been terrible. I haven't introduced myself. I'm sorry. I'm Clinton Johnson. My pronouns are he, him, and his. I'm the founder and one of the leaders of North Star, and I also am the leader for the Racial Equity Unified team at Esri. And I will invite Sienna Williams, if you're able to unmute and share with everybody a little bit about yourself.
Thanks, Clinton. Hi, everyone. My name is Sihana Lena Williams. I actually have 2 careers currently. So I have one in GIS and one in tech, UX research. So I am the co-founder of African Women in GIS alongside Chidima Umugu from Nigeria. And I'm also a user experience researcher with Microsoft in Norway. So for GIS as a career, I have spent about 2.5 years. But since I'm part of the African Women in GIS, I am still in my 3rd year, I think. So yeah, I think that's a bit about me. And I think I'll pass it on to Nina. Is Nina here?
Oh, thank you, Sienna. Hi, everyone. Can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you
Yes,
for
good
having
morning.
me.
Hi.
My name is Nena Kata Robert. I'm a Nigerian. Like Sienna mentioned, I also have 2 careers in tech. So I've been in the IT industry for 5 years. And I just migrated to the GIS in not less than 1.5 years. So it's been a quite interesting journey as also a member of the African Women in GIS. So yeah, that's just a brief about me. And secondly, I work in the humanitarian sector. So because of the challenges we are having in this part of the world, Nigeria in quote, so I'm trying to see how I can bring in GIS to the system, because we've been having a lot of backhoes in that aspect, to see how we can support our relief efforts. So that's it. Thank you.
And how about Naselele?
Sure, thanks, Clinton. Hi, everyone. My name is Naslele Amatende Mwimbwa. I am coming from Zambia. My pronouns are she or her. I've been in the GIS space for 11 years now. Yeah, I'm really happy to be here to meet all of you and learn all the great work that you have been doing. My career is two-faceted. I've spent most of my life at the Zambia Statistics Agency. It's a statistical agency, so it's using GIS for research and for statistics mainly. But now I've recently joined. I recently joined the humanitarian sector under the OpenStreetMap team, and we are also using GIS to map a number of services so that we can support the efforts that are going on for this pandemic. I think that's all from me for now, Clinton. Thank you.
Appreciate it, and excited to hear about some of those efforts to support folks during the pandemic. Safinas?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yep. How are you?
Okay, I'm fine. I'm glad to be with you today. I'm Safinaz Ahmad Mubarak from Egypt. Okay, I'm working as a GIS specialist at a private company, doing some projects. Also, I have my own business, working as a freelancer at my free time, doing some projects for government here in Egypt. Also, I'm a member in African Women in GIS. Also, I'm still fresh, just 4 years or around 5 years in GIS industry. Thank you all. Nice to meet you all.
And sorry, or are you going to pass to your colleague?
Okay, let me see which one. Which one I will pass to, I think my colleague, Nina, Nelsie, Sienna, they introduced themselves.
I think we have
Ola.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so good evening, everyone. My name is Omowonola, and I'm joining from Nigeria. I work as a GIS analyst and in the energy sector. So what we try to do is we try to use GIS to solve this issue of energy and provide renewable energy to rural communities who need access to energy. And I'm also the co-host of Africa Agile Convo, and I'm so glad to be here today.
Appreciate you. Thanks for joining. There were a number of people who talked about work they do that supports communities. Folks who touched on some of the things they did in 2021. We've got a lot of folks here, and there are just a few highlights that I want to hit on for sure, but generally I just want to have a free-form conversation. I'm excited to have folks from African Women in GIS share some of the work that they did last year and into this year to create space for African women in GIS and create opportunities for folks to learn more about the technology and to be highlighted and elevated into the sphere of GIS.
Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. I think I'll take it from here as a representative of African Women in GIS. Can I share my screen real quick? Okay, I hope everyone can see my screen. Yeah, so I will be taking us to just the surface part of the problems that brought about our community, and also some of the things that we have tried to do to address those issues. So on the surface, as an introduction, African Women in GIS is an online community for every African woman in the world who is interested, works or studies in the geospatial industry. And our community came about from a series of issues that we realized after I had a conversation with Chidima Umegu in 2019. So our organization has been in existence and came out in public during the pandemic in 2020. And as such, we tried as much as possible to create solutions that can help our members to benefit from the opportunities that we create during the pandemic online. Therefore, we are a purely online community so that our members all over the world can benefit from our initiatives. So first of all, some of the problems that came up that influenced our organization is the fact that we had fundamental and career path problems. Fundamental being that we realized that the STEM field was predominantly, basically it had a lot of men in the industry in Africa. Therefore, we kind of wanted to close that gender gap. that was also part of the initiatives that we wanted to kind of bring out. We also realized that we had a lack of proper career guidance for some of our members who came on board and also expressed their need for such an initiative. We also realized that our school curriculum was quite inadequate, and we also needed to expose the African female to GIS role models as well. We needed to also create grassroots GIS benefits and application awareness among students and the public, as well as to address the gender career tenacity of some of our African parents. In terms of career, we realized that there were a limited number of GIS jobs, and as the pandemic came, it also influenced a lot of people's jobs as well. We also realized that people did not have access to GIS job information, as well as even GIS mentors for career growth. And also we realized that it was very difficult to get affordable GIS events and skills to upgrade themselves and to also engage in projects that can help them to build their portfolios as well. Therefore, as a community, we decided to come up with certain initiatives that could help us to address these particular issues. So as such, as a community and with the help of various executives, as you can see Dr. Don right here. When the year started, we decided to start up with an introduction to African women in GIS by hosting the International Women's Day webinar. So this webinar aimed to introduce our ladies to key personalities, kind of key role models who look like us, to show them what they can aspire to be, to ask career-based questions, and to kind of have that first phase interaction with really great role models. Then secondly, we started having collaboration events. As you can see last year in Esri UC, we were also part of the Women and GIS webinar, where we tried to expose our community in order to also expose our members to some of the initiatives that other groups were having, and also to kind of push out what we aim to do in the year. We also had collaboration with North Star, and that's what we're actually having right now. And also we had an interaction with IBISA, which is an organization that aims to create a platform for farmers to kind of get access to satellite imagery proof of if they had any insurance issues per their farms. So our members kind of joined their project to kind of have an addition to their portfolios as they work with IBISA. So here we had some of our members who became watchers on the program that helped to help the AI system for IBISA to assess the satellite images and to provide feedback for farmers to go in for insurance. Then we also have events. We have a number of internal events that we hope to help the members. As you know, most people had to put off going to school in the last year. So we try to create events that will help our members to get access to the information as to how they can apply for a scholarship in preparation for the years after the pandemic, and hopefully to get more guidelines on how they can perhaps choose the right courses or the right schools or the right scholarship programs to get access to. Now, next, we also try to help our ladies to come out of their comfort zone in terms of taking up speaking opportunities such as this program Homecoming, and as well as internal programs that we organize for our members. So in such, we encourage our members to come out to share some of the work that they are doing in their workplaces, as well as personally, some of the initiatives that they have taken up. And in this program, they are able to kind of showcase their skills and also to build up on their exposure image. So to kind of give our members more exposure to show that we have African women who are actively in the geospatial industry and who are doing great things. And in that process, we decided to have some active collaborations where we have programs with these various organizations. We have a few projects with some of the organizations, as well as webinar opportunities, collaborations, where some of our members come out as part of the projects. Some of them are also speakers on various collaborative events we have with these organizations. And also they are able to kind of benefit from some of the activities that these organizations come out with. Now in early 2021, we hosted our website. And one of the key parts of our website is to create a specific page for our members who have access to showing their profiles, to kind of show, kind of give the public access to a number of people who are willing to be speakers, who are willing to be consultants, who are willing to kind of take up any related geo work that they are very interested in. So this is purely based on the fact that you are willing to give your information. And this is based on data that the members have actively and want to give out for people to get access to them. So this page is a very important page for our organization because we want to give our ladies more exposure apart from what we give on our social media platforms, to make sure that they are open to job opportunities, open to speaking opportunities, consultation, and also if they are open to any form of work that you might have for them. This is the perfect place to get that information. So that's a few of the things that we have. We have Nina on the call. She'll be taking us through one of the initiatives that came up this year to help our members and as well as the general public to get access to introductory courses into GIS. So if Nina is on the call, could you please take over, please?
Hello, thank you very much, Sienna. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So please permit me to share my screen. Okay, thank you very much, everyone. As Sienna rightly mentioned, from African Women in GIS, we have been trying to organize a series of events to bring our community up to speed, because that is what we represent. So this year, we brought up an idea from the West African zone to design a training program specifically for people who are beginners in GIS. So we designed a curriculum, a 7 days masterclass in GIS for beginners, which was held on the 21st of June through 27th of June. So we had two categories of training. We have the GIS application and we also had the remote sensing. We did this so that we can be able to catch both people who are also beginners and people who are halfway into their career in GIS and in remote sensing. So we covered general introduction to GIS, data types, how to acquire some data, including platforms for open source, QGIS, links to download satellite imagery and any open source data for your analysis. Then we took them on QGIS software and geodatabases, and georeferencing, digitizing, and how to create a map. Then on day 4, we dived into remote sensing and image classification. We did the buffer analysis, hotspot analysis, land cover, and land use classification. We did the land surface temperature modeling, hydrology and watershed analysis, and NDVI for vegetation. So the training was free of charge because it was just like we rightly said, it's a way we are giving back to the community so that we would represent what we stand for. We had all our training facilitators. We are all members of the African Women in GIS. We had 7 facilitators for the training, and they were all our members of the community. And for the training, we had a total number of 702 registered participants, which was a huge number. We actually wasn't expecting this number of participants, but with this number, it triggered us to show that the level of interest out there in the community. A lot of people are eager to learn GIS. And one of the interesting things we found out from our participation was that we had 228 people who registered were all male, and 463 were female. So this is another interesting finding. This to show that men are also out there looking for such community and looking for such training to also participate, irrespective of the fact that it was a women organized program, and a lot of men also keyed into this program. We had a lot of participants from different countries. We have from Afghanistan, we have from USA, we have from Bangladesh, British, Cameroon, Congo, Cote d'Ivoire, Egypt, and a lot of country people were represented in this training. The highest number of participation was from Nigeria, followed by Ghana, Kenya, and Uganda, while we also have some representatives from this country. So it was quite a diverse participation for the training, and we are excited that at the end of the training, we were able to deliver what we promised to our viewers and our listeners. So from the day 1 up to the 7th day of the training, we had 60 number of views approximately. We had to take the program on YouTube live because of the number of participants. So we had an average of 60 live views each day. And as we speak now, for our day 1, we have had 1,268 rewatched for the day 1 introduction to GIS. So after the participation, we've had a series of emails. We've been replying to emails every day by day. People are interested in joining the African Women in GIS. People are interested to partake. People also want us to take the training to the next level. And these are some of the feedbacks we have been getting. A lot of people we have been doing a lot of personal coaching. People who had encountered issues during the training, we have been trying to bring them up to speed. We also had an assignment for the training, and the last day for the assignment is due tomorrow. But as we may have it, a lot of people have been sending in some of their works, and these are people who have not handled any GIS, and this is their first time of doing anything GIS. So they've been sending in feedback to us, some of the maps they've been creating for correction, and coaching, which is a very interesting finding so far. So we are glad we are able to reach this community, and we are trying to see how we can continue bringing out some of these trainings back to the community as time goes on. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nina. And in addition to this, we realized that during the pandemic, a number of our members also encountered some issues that they wanted to address. Therefore, they have come up with their own initiatives. An example is Omonola, who will be sharing a short bit about her initiative, that's the Africa Geo Convo. So Omonola, you can just give an introduction.
Well, okay. So my name is Omonola, and I'm a co-host for the Africa Geo Convo. Because we had conversations with students while I was in school, had conversations with junior colleagues, and I saw that a lot of people, especially Africans, they really do not know what they were going to be doing with their geospatial GIS certificates. And it's not because we do not have enough resources out there. So I feel like maybe because they did not see enough representation. So a lot of resources out there. Do not know, we decided to start the podcast. And the reason why we wanted to start the podcast was because we felt like a podcast would be a great way for people, especially young professional students, to be motivated. Like, when they hear people who are in the African ecosystem, who knows how it feels like, what it feels like to be an Africa, and they stay in Africa, and they've been able to, navigate through the African ecosystem of the geospatial industry, that will really give them a way to motivate them to see that, yeah, they can actually also do so much with their certificate. So that was why we decided to start the podcast. And so far, we've been able to interview professionals from countries, few countries in Africa. And the reason is because the podcast is monthly and we just started December 2019. So we've only been able to capture just 7 topics. So we've been able to interview professionals from Cameroon, from Ghana, from Nigeria, from Uganda, from South Africa. Inenab that I just spoke before was actually one of the people we interviewed in our podcast. And for our interview, she was able to capture scholarships opportunity for GIS students in Africa, how to reach out to research to professors and get research assistantship, because she is also she won a scholarship like 2 years ago. And so far this is what we've been able to do. And we also received sponsorship from Humanitarian OpenStreetMap Map team, the OT. So they've actually helped us to spread our agenda across all African countries. So if you'd like to hear more about the podcast or you'd like to reach out to us, you can go on our website and you'll be able to see our previous interviews. And you can also email us if you like to support us or you have questions for us. You can also email us at africadrecover@gmail.com. If you also like to listen to the podcast, you can listen to the podcast on this link that I'm sharing to right now. And so far, we've actually been able to have like over 400 people listening to the podcast every month. And we've also been able to see the impact of the podcast. I didn't really capture that in the presentation because of, but a lot of people have reached out to us telling us how they've learned so much, especially for the scholarship interview we did, because a lot of people did not know what they would do, how to go about the scholarship thing. But we've been able to help them, and we've been able to help young professionals and to find questions to the answers they have about starting a career in the geospatial industry, what technologies we have available and what they can use with those technologies, how they can navigate through the African GIS ecosystem. And so that's what we've been able to achieve so far with the podcast. That's all. Thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to share about our podcast on this platform.
Thank you.
Thanks for sharing. One second. Sorry, can you all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Cool. Thanks for sharing. I'm just gonna get all these things off my screen. So that's a part of what we're talking about when we're talking about innovating through and beyond the pandemic. It's that kind of innovation, that spirit of creativity, and not just sort of struggling through the pandemic, but thriving and creating new and exciting resources for folks throughout the pandemic and beyond. This is the kind of thing that I want to say. This just seems so inherent in the culture of humanity, but perhaps particularly across the African diaspora. I wonder, other folks who are in this conversation, Dr. Wright in particular, what do you think about this? I know that Esri has long tried to find ways to make GIS more accessible, and we're trying to make it more accessible for folks to do GIS in communities. What are your thoughts on that kind of work and what the future holds?
I think it's absolutely essential, and I have just had we've had to turn our cameras off, but I've had a big smile on my face as our African women in GIS colleagues have been presenting about all that they are doing, and it's all so grassroots. And I think that's where we are seeing this important pivot, where a lot of this work is not only being recognized, but it is grassroots. It's coming from the bottom up. Sometimes it's a huge struggle, and it takes time for our voices to be heard and for our perspectives and our the urgency of these problems to be recognized. But one thing I'll say, Clinton, also for the group is you wanted me to give somewhat of a preview or some things to look forward to in terms of the user conference. And so along these lines, I would really, I think everyone knows that Lejeune Montgomery Tabron. She is the president and CEO of the W.K. Kellogg Foundation. She has been chosen as one of the keynote speakers at the user conference. And if all possible, I hope everyone will tune in to that keynote because yes, she is an African-American woman. She, in the first one that we've had as a keynote speaker, she is the leader of the Kellogg Foundation, which Clinton and many others at Esri have been partnering with here, and others are partnering with Kellogg. But this is not your normal keynote. For one thing, it's a conversation. It truly is a conversation between Jack and between Lejeune. I've already seen the keynote. And the reason why this is important is because it is a conversation. It's not just Lejeune speaking to the choir, which is often the case with our people. It is an acknowledgement by Jack of these issues. The word North Star, she mentions that word. She defines racial equity. She talks about the same type of work that we're talking about here, specifically with regard to COVID and how we are indeed innovating and thriving despite the inequalities there. And she mentions children, the work that's important for our children. So I'll just give you that as a tidbit. Also, in between these segments on Tuesday, in between the keynote segments, there are going to be these UC Central Live. They're short little segments to keep the flow going between the keynote addresses. And there will be one on practical means for attaining sustainability, which also touches on what we have been talking about here and gives even more examples of the type of work that we're all doing. And I'm proud to say that this is a panel that I'll be moderating with 3 other women of color. It's just us women of color laying it out there. So that is Tuesday, 12:45 a.m. within this UC Central Live segment, 12:45 Pacific. So I'll stop there. Thank you, Clinton.
No, thank you, Dr. Wright. That all sounds really exciting, and just touching on some of what you said at the end there. Just when we started this year for Black History Month, much of the same people collaborating. The theme for the month was for Black History Month this year is the Black family, and we tailored that around the idea of who maps the Black family, and what we want people to think about is what is the significance of the people who are at the table when exploring issues and opportunities for people of the Black or African diaspora, and what then is the importance of having those of us who are in the diaspora at the table, and what is the significance when we're not there, right? So having women of color ask the questions is important, right? Because there's something personal that we always bring to the way that we think about the world and the way we ask questions. So I think there'll be something significant there that should also be subtle and sort of, just inherent and natural and obvious. I want to get some other folks in here talking about their thoughts about the theme, because one of the ideas we have here is that our differences matter. So having different views and perspectives is really important. TJ, I see you nodding your head a lot. Is there something that you want to add?
So, before we started this collaboration, Clinton, 2 years ago, meeting you, and can you guys hear me okay? Should always test. Okay. When we come together and we talk about grassroots and we talk about African Americans and women and GIS and technology and all of it, the theme with creating an innovation through this pandemic has been so passionate, not just because of being a woman of color in GIS and in technology, but seeing all of us as a people come together through such tragedy seeing the bigger picture. This morning, I just shared with you before getting on this call, I'm watching this spaceship. I'm watching the Virgin Atlantic go into, and I'm watching Neil deGrasse comment on what we're doing and why we're doing it, but also why we're so behind on things living in a cave world. And it just strikes me so many places because, I've been on these panels with you doing a lot, right? It's so many things that I can say. But right now, what resonates is knowing the people that are in the background, knowing or that we are not in the background, that we are coming out, that we are speaking, we are standing right there. They talked about, it made me think about our first rocket that went to the moon and the Black women that were running that whole entire show. And that was what, 50 years ago? So while, and all of these inventions and Tesla, it's so overwhelming, but it's so exciting at the same time to see that going. And just to segue into Here Technologies and what we're doing right now, just with our Here We Go app, with our software that Esri we partnered with for so many years, and using as far as ArcGIS and the mapping could say, that is my field. That is exactly what I do day to day. Working on mapping and putting these inputs in and getting all these different coding and it's just so exciting. I know I'm rambling now because I didn't expect it to be like this. This discussion, this panel blew me out the water and I'm just taking it all in. So again, I just wish we had more time, obviously, and we don't, but that's okay. Because it's exciting to be here and it's exciting to hear all of these women and just, I don't want to tear up. I feel like I want to tear up. So, just excited to be here and see this grow. It's not grassroots as much anymore, right, Dr. Dawn? We're getting out there now. And that was the first thing that was coming through my mind. I'm using the word grassroots less now in days.
Yeah, like honestly, Sihana, Chidima, they're entrepreneurs. They built an organization that happens to serve the community more so than serve themselves. That they should be at least as proud as we all are of the work that they're doing. And we're very proud. So
yeah, we forget how much we're doing because it's just we're on it every day. And even my background, personal background, right now, my family started an Airbnb business for the inner city in New Orleans during the pandemic. Me and my first cousins, and this is something that we we took a legacy of our grandparents and their parents before that, because we had the platform as a family and the resources to be able to do it. And it started from just having a family with education, obviously was the key, but not just that, my grandfather motivated the girls in his family, especially because his thing was, don't stop. You're not just a woman, you're the prize. Don't forget it. Don't forget it. So that's one thing I wanted to say. Don't forget it, ladies. Don't forget it, gentlemen. It's up to us to keep this going. And it's hard, but look where we are now. From last year, look where we are now.
Don't forget it, everybody, for our folks who don't necessarily identify with the gender binary.
Yes.
As we think about all of that, just inspirational drive and push and innovation, I want to shift over and Jeremy, if you're ready, give you an opportunity to share, some of the work that you did in the conversation that we had leading up to this moment. It was really interesting to hear how, in your effort to just find a way to showcase technology, you leaned into, as everyone does, to some degree, your perspective, your experience, and took that opportunity to share an important story. So feel free to take over the screen when you're ready.
Okay, that sounds good. I've got a little technical confusion going on with my side, but I've got my audio on this one. And if I can share with the, there we go, this should work here. All right, am I coming through here?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So if you can see what I've got here, this is the Browns Ferry Cavern out here, or Tavern out here in Chattanooga. And like I said before, I've got a little bit of background in archaeology. So a lot of this knowledge just comes from my just willingness to get out there and figure out what's actually out in the field. And I had some background in surveying. And as I started, working through this technology a little bit more, I started realizing the advantages that we can have with this type of technology and how we can preserve history. And like Clinton said earlier, it all started from just looking for a cool little area to do a demonstration on out here in Chattanooga. But as I started diving more, you start seeing a little bit more of the historical context and the significance of an area like this. For one, this cabin was owned by one of the last leading chiefs or war chiefs out here. Not a war chief. He was one of the prominent Cherokees out here in Chattanooga. And he was given this land to basically own this little ferry and run it out here to shuttle people up and down the Tennessee River and give people an opportunity to conduct trade. And it also was the site of a lot of, I don't know if you guys know anything about the Civil War out here in Tennessee, but obviously in the South, we've got a lot of battlefields, a lot of places where there was a lot of bloodshed to bring freedom and to, reestablish a lot of the freedoms that we should have been given in the first place. But this site was actually one of the sites where Ulysses S. Grant brought in a lot of his generals to really take back a supply chain in Chattanooga to reestablish and push back the Confederate soldiers. So that was one of the cool things that I found while looking in through this tavern. And if you can see, I used one of our drones to, actually, this was one of my personal drones that I used to do an overhead flight to get some of this imagery. And I used the Esri's new software. It's called Drone to Map. And it's very functional to use. You basically just have to get these photos loaded in and get it processed out into an interesting data set. But the new thing that I started trying with this was doing some interior scans. So if you can see here, you can see how we've took some pictures on the inside of the building to create another data set that we were able to flesh out a little bit more. And it's something that we're still cleaning up, and it's still things that we're still getting processed down. We're actually getting a new sensor here in the next few weeks or so to allow for a little bit more clarity when it comes to the manipulation of the point cloud. But yeah, it's really exciting. It's a project that I'm really passionate about, and it's something that it's just been getting more and more fun as I've been getting more involved with it and just seeing how the technology can be pushed and just being involved with it. And it's funny that you guys mentioned how we were able to adapt this through COVID, because this same technology, I don't know if you guys remember last year, but Dr. Watka mentioned an organization called Drone Forward, where they work with kids to teach STEM technology and entrepreneurship. We're actually working with some kids down in Zambia at the, if I'm not mistaken, it's the South African Institution of Aviation. And then we're bringing some of this technology and some of these skills to teach these kids how to build drones and basically just give them an opportunity to use this technology to learn about entrepreneurship skills. And this will be one of the other little examples that we're going to be showing them to say, hey, if you ever want to see what your community looks like, I mean, these drones we're sending you won't be able to do that, but this is something that you would be able to do in the future to do that.
That's really cool, Jeremy. Thank you for sharing.
No worries at all.
Oh, so that takes us to I'm the person who clicks on the wrong things. That's who I am. You all should know it. That takes us to our conversation about the future, right? So what are some of these tech trends that all of you are inspired about? What's got you excited for the future? And we definitely want to share some reflections on what's next for folks and what to get people excited about. I'll start by saying I'm excited about how GIS is this great intersector of all things tech, AI, machine learning, drone technology, other architectural design technology, data science, all can come together in GIS. and I'm excited to have more and more opportunities to help community-based organizations use all of that to advance racial equity, other social to address other social injustices, and you can learn more about that kind of work in some of our sessions at the Esri User Conference. Veronique, what are some of the things that you're excited about?
Well, definitely, you know, I love everything StoryMap, storytelling platforms, because I used to run an education GIS platform when I worked for the Audubon Society, and working in conservation, the biggest challenge that there is doing environmental justice work or working with communities, the storytelling component. And I really love how there's so many out of the box solutions now that Esri is offering. That is a huge time saver. But I think being able also to put technology in the hand of communities that is not such a steep learning curve, that they can adopt it very quickly and deploy it very quickly, something that I'm really excited to push forward, and use of the technology by the community has the ability to shape the technologies in a way that we can't even like understand if we just don't focus on the GIS technology kind of thing. And I see this for myself during the pandemic. There was an oil spill in my home country, Mauritius, which I didn't get to tell you because my internet was being great. And I felt trapped. I felt like I was 10,000 miles away from home in the United States, that I couldn't do anything. So I could use spiritual technology in a lot of ways that you can think. In 72 countries, over 1,000 times, and drove donation to local nonprofit. And it goes to show the power of like the technology for storytelling, and the power that it has when it's just the community telling the story rather than someone telling the story for the community. So that's definitely, like, I'm one of those GIS person who don't necessarily talk about the remote sensing, the AI. Like, I get really happy about it, but I see the potential of those out of the box solution in kind of shaping community work to be more inclusive and just.
Yeah, I hear that. And I'm also similarly, I'm not always the person to like pull in tech as a thing that is at the center or that's getting me excited. It's more about how other people can be empowered through tech to engage more, right? Like there's a way that tech can be a part of our higher touch solution. And someone in the audience, Latoya, I think it is, says that they're excited about mixed reality. And I think about XR and all of the intersections of how we can pull data into people's reality more. I also think about the ways in which that can enhance storytelling. And we say storytelling, and I want people to think about that in the context of, and I'm sure you do as well, V. I'm not like trying to pivot around what you say here, but I think sometimes people don't realize that we're empowering people to tell their story, like their real experience, and it's not fictitious, it's real. So Dr. Wright, I saw you popped up, and I think about some of your work in regard to citizen science in the social sciences, more generally. Do you have any thoughts that you'd like to share?
Well, I think what V just shared was fantastic along the storytelling part, because that is such a huge part of this social science initiative that we have going at Esri right now, especially qualitative social science, where even with that different perspective, people are telling their stories through story maps. And what you have been saying in terms of tech trends as well, Clinton. Another one that really excites me is this whole thing around Kubernetes. And you're going to be, for those who are able to join us at the user conference this week, Kubernetes is this new thing that we're really into at Esri. It's an open source system for automating the deployment and the scaling and the management of containerized applications. And a container is something that does not necessarily have to rely on broadband. You can give someone a container, it already has the data, it already has the applications, the operating system, everything. And if a container works properly, you just press one button, an executable, and everything runs. So you can bring a container into just about any environment, into a village, into a disaster zone, into all of these communities where we know that the digital divide is still very real. So that's one thing that I'm getting really excited about, because we've been talking about something like that, especially in terms of international development work for years. And V, I've been to Mauritius and experienced your lovely country, and thought about how useful something like Kubernetes should have been in responding to that oil spill. I'll say one more thing and then get off the stage and let others. A trend that I really like is how we in our community are calling out these inequities in tech. And I'm going to hold up here the latest issue of Wired. First time there's been a Black woman on the color for good reasons and bad. You may know about Timnit Gebru, who was recently called out, or she's been in the news. She's an Ethiopian American computer scientist who was forced out of Google when her work pivoted to building AI to examine the spread of racism and inequality. And so the fallout from that is heavy, but it's also been very illuminating and very strong. And she says, I'm not worried about machines taking over the world. I'm worried about groupthink, insularity, and arrogance in the AI community or in the tech community. We could put GIS in there as well, but there are more voices like that speaking out and getting recognized and making people think. So that's another trend.
Yeah, it certainly is. I'm glad you highlighted that as a trend as well. And it's one of the trends that skyrocketed through 2020, I think. I was also really, excited for her work and monitoring, and then disappointed when things went the way they did with Google, because, we can always find in the US anyway, those big, the notable cities and spaces where there are inequities, but how do we find the ones that are more difficult to see? How do we take what we can learn from patterns in what people are experiencing in terms of community conditions and outcomes in those places, and apply it to the entire country and to other countries to reveal trends and patterns and unearth other inequities that people are experiencing, so that we don't necessarily get distracted by the flashpoints, but that they make the whole view of things brighter. And it just seems like AI is well positioned for that. And as it caused me to dig deeper and learn more about AI and data science. And I was actually troubled to learn something that probably doesn't seem like a problem to most people, that most of the best practices around data science begin with understanding a challenge in terms of a business question. And as soon as you bring business into it, right, that means that even an organization that is starting with some community expressed interest in mind is translating that into what does it mean to their business. So I'm excited for us to find more and more ways to enable the community to do the business of the community and frame their own questions, collect their own data, own their own information, do their own data science work, and start to be a part of this change. And while we talk a lot about what's going on in the US, I really would love for folks to continue to learn more about the broad range of stories of experiences that people have in other continents, particularly in Africa. So Sienna, other folks from African Women in GIS, maybe you all want to share some of the things that you're sort of intrigued by, or that you're monitoring, and what's going on in the spaces that really matter to you. Any of you can go first.
If you don't mind, while they
Oh, yeah.
decide, I actually would like to, what you were saying about data. One thing that's been bothering me is that African nations constitute 30% of the world's resources on to run its economy. And I just want to make sure you can hear me.
It's actually really choppy, and it sounds like you're saying some really important stuff. So I'm trying to turn all of the other audio and video off.
Is it better now? If I turn
Yes.
my camera off? Is it
You're
better?
coming through pretty clear now.
Yeah, much better, much better.
Yeah, so I'll turn off my camera. What I was saying is, like, what worries me is that, you know, we keep saying, like, I want to diversify the idea of careers into what it looks like, because I've had people who tell me they don't do GIS, they don't do tech, but GIS and tech is an integral part of our daily lives. And if people in African nations don't embrace careers in technology and we don't remove the barriers for them to embrace careers in technology, then that means that we are losing control over our resources in African nations, and data theft will become a more predominant thing. And it's a very rapid race that is happening really quickly, and that's why we need more diverse careers in tech, because there is the very technical aspect, but also the business value, like Clinton was talking about, and being a technology champion. All these different career paths in GIS needs to be pushed more, because there are different perspectives that needs to be shown that it can be, like, working in GIS. And I really hope to encourage people to find their own shoes in that space, so that they can bring their perspective, so that we don't lose that race and we don't lose even more control over our resources in African nations.
Excellent point. Thank you for sharing that. That's always been sort of, some of that has been behind why I really think it's important for us to connect as a community across the diaspora, because some of us are fairly well positioned in some places to create space for others. And one set of spaces that there's just from our experience, there's just there really aren't people who are from African nations talking about African nations in a lot of the spaces that are focused on how we use GIS to help folks anywhere, but it's particularly how we use GIS to help folks in the African nations. So I'm always excited by and inspired by the work of Sihana and her team, to bring more people who look like them into the space and empower them to do so. Sihana, I see you've come on. Would you like to go ahead?
Yeah, sorry for being mute earlier. I thought my members on the call would unmute and talk. But yeah, I completely agree with what Vero mentioned. We definitely need to bring out more about Africans and also involve them a lot in the GIS space. I see a lot of improvements in the tech space for Africa. I see a lot of initiatives being done for tech in Ghana, Nigeria, in Kenya, Rwanda. Is really impressive. And I feel like we should do the same for GIS. I really like how it has improved. But as the saying goes, you really need your own data to completely understand your own country and continent. And that's one thing that I'm really happy that organizations like OSM has taken up to help Africans to kind of digitize their satellite images to create their own data. They're being proactive in terms of collecting location data in addition to the data that they already have, especially in health. So I'm seeing a lot of improvement. It's a bit slow, but we are on the track. We have a lot of drone technologies that are coming up. So we have drone technology and robotics coming up as a trend in Africa, I would say, and also data science involving GIS data. So these trends are actually growing. A lot of schools have started paying attention to these trends and adding it to the curriculum, but we still need a lot of practical work involved, and also a lot of, as Vero mentioned, we need a lot of personalities to come out and show that these things can be done, and to also go out into the schools and to talk to the students to make them see the other opportunities that are out there apart from what we were taught when we were younger, that we just had a limited number of opportunities. So that's what African Women in GIS aim to do, hopefully, to go to the grassroots to show them that these things can be done and that they can be part of it. So yeah, it's really a good thing that is coming up. And I think Nasibile has something to add to that.
Thanks, Siana. My network is quite bad. I'll keep my screen off. I just wanted to agree with you that there's a lot we have to do in Africa. For example, in my part of the world, we need to engage more, like in our local universities, even with the people who are currently working in the GIS space, in terms of these new trends, what's going on in the GIS world, what's things that are changing, how it's now merging with data science. And I think we need more people to come out and tell people this is what you can do, this is what is going on, to open up our worlds to these different ways of sharing information. For me, I think I would say my journey in GIS has been that when I started, it was so basic, but then I think along the way, and also interacting with other organizations, you begin to learn and see that there's a lot that can be done that we are currently not doing. So there's a lot of things that GIS can do and can also bring development to our countries. But I think we have a challenge on information. We really don't, I think we need more people to come out to speak to others about GIS. We need more mentors. We need people to speak to students, like Siana has said. We need more people, even our lecturers in the universities, those who are teaching different courses, we need them to introduce more tech courses to be able to combine data science with tech and a lot of other things, and to be able to model data and things like that, and kind of change this notion of every time you need data, you have to rely on a survey. There's a lot of open information that we can generate using GIS, and that can help our communities. I think that's where I'll end for now. Over to you, Siana or Clinton.
There's also there was a hand raised in the audience, and I wanted to invite that person to share. If I can find them again.
I see Omonola and Nina, so maybe one of them can go.
Yeah, thank you so much. Okay, yeah, so thank you so much. You know, as somebody who has had like a first-hand experience of what Siana and Nasibile has said, you know, because I lead the mentorship team for African women in GIS, and I've seen a lot of questions about what do they want to do, like, or why they want to be part of this mentorship program. You see that the reason why they really want to be part of it is because, like Nasibile said, like lecturers also like need to start incorporating, like talking more about these technologies that are coming out in the GIS industry. You see that a lot of people, especially young students, do not know about these technologies. Like the last person we interviewed in the podcast last month actually mentioned that he spent 5 years in school in Ghana, and he did not know about Google Earth Engine until when it started working. So those are the problems that we have. People do not know about these technologies that are actually
We lost your audio.
like how they as far as GIS is concerned. And I just want to first an extent of this, like interview people and talking to them, yeah, that these things are valid and this push this information out there, like yeah, so over to you.
I think, thank you for sharing. I think there was one person who had their hand raised in the audience, and Adrian, if you're still interested in sharing, you have access to unmute and speak up. Just let us know. While you think that over, Nena, did you want to say something?
Yes, thank you very much. I think I would like to add into what Sienna rightly said. Access to data has been a bit of challenge for some time now. And also training, grassroots training in these GIS technologies. For instance, I remember sometime in 2019 during the COVID pandemic, then I was still in the UK and there was no information about COVID and its spread in Nigeria. And I was very interested in finding out such information, but because I couldn't see it, I saw it in a data format which couldn't make much meaning and sense to a lot of people. So I decided to take it upon me. I developed a COVID-19 dashboard for monitoring the spread of COVID in Nigeria. That was in 2019. But the effect was quite overwhelming because I think between the month of May 2019 to date, I think I've personally mentored or trained about 20 people in web mapping. And it's quite interesting to find out that almost all of them are master students. Meanwhile, I had a background in information technology, and my master's was in GIS actually, but you can imagine someone who has gone through all his years of studying GIS and up to master's level, and the person finds it difficult, to use some of these software. So it's quite challenging, and I think that is one of the reasons why we are here, African Women in GIS. We are trying to go down back to grassroots, see how we can, and help people who are in such category. Then another quite interesting thing is, irrespective of the fact that the data is not there, there are a lot of people who are very enthusiastic. A lot of people out there are willing to learn. Of recent, we are trying to carry out a research on atmospheric modeling, the effect on COVID and the effect of COVID on in the atmosphere. So like a reverse modeling. So we have tried to make it open to quite a lot of people, and a lot of people are, they're interested. So I feel people are looking for platforms to showcase their skills and what they are able to do, but they are not able to find out such platforms to show their skills.
Thank you for sharing. Adrian or Dorothea, I see your hands were raised, and feel free to come off mute and share.
Hello, can you all hear me? It's Dorothea.
Yes, we can hear you.
Hi, wonderful welcome to the homecoming. Glad to be a part of the events occurring this week. I just have one comment to the person who was speaking right before me, where we talked about training and talked about mentorships and things of that nature. Just wondering if this is something as a community we could tackle, because we do have the Atlas, and within that Atlas, where everyone is identifying as being a part of this community, we should probably add in, are you willing to train? Are you willing to be a mentor? Because we can solve some of our own problems just by coming together and maybe, putting some structure around trainings, mentorships, and making ourselves available. So that's just an idea to kind of solve some of the issues that was mentioned prior.
That's a great idea. And was speaking with some of the leaders of African Women in GIS, the leaders of African Women in GIS, just yesterday about how we could start doing some of that. Hadn't thought about adding that to the atlas. It's a great idea. We should get that done soon.
Very soon.
I absolutely appreciate everyone who attended and shared their perspectives today, and everybody who participated in helping us to continue to grow and evolve this community. Dorothea didn't say, but she's from, I don't know, and actually I don't remember if she's at, but she's from Here Technologies, one of the leads of Unity Empowered there. They've been great sponsors and partners. Thanks so much, Dr. Wright, for just being a living legend for us in the GIS community and making time to participate here today. Thanks for everybody from African Women in GIS and from Here Technologies, and thanks, Jeremy, for showing up to speak today. Thanks to everybody in the audience for sure, and definitely check out some of the other events that are coming up. We definitely would love to see you there. This video has been live streamed on YouTube, and that recording will be available immediately after this event, and we'll make a link available to it in the Eventbrite, so you can share it with your friends and colleagues, and invite everyone to these events. Those who look like you and those who could otherwise be our allies. Any final thoughts from folks as we wrap up the welcome?
Yes, talking about the mentorship, I think we in the African Women in GIS, that is what we have been doing as a group and also individually. So I think we can open it up to greater collaborations for any other individuals or organizations. So we could form like a community of practice for GIS practitioners, that could provide trainings to people. So apart from training on grassroots, community of practice is also a key way of, bringing people up to speed in GIS.
Love that. Okay, thanks everybody again. Really appreciate you. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you all.
Bye.